previous years, where school opening days has recorded, this year's actually recorded a low, has actually recorded a relative low number of parents purchasing books and uniforms. And Ibrahim Karanja is in the streets of Nakuru town with an update, from search shops where books and uniforms are sold. Ibrahim Karanja, this is another year where students are going back to school, but then business owners within the uniform and bookshop sectors are actually, having a hard time in terms of sales, low sales being recorded. What is the reason for this?
Well, Brenda, there are several reasons attributed as to why these bookshops and uniform shops are recording a relatively low turnout of parents who are coming to buy for their students. Today, like you have said, I hit the streets of Nakuru early in the morning to just do a spot check at bookshops and uniform shops to just see how many parents are buying these books as compared to the previous terms or the previous years. Among the reasons is that these days the government is actually purchasing books for schools directly. So the number of parents who come to bookshops to buy books directly themselves has gone low. And where I am right now, in one of the bookshops in Nakuru town, I want to speak to a parent who I've found with his children here, and I also want to speak to the business owner to get to understand how different it has been, aside from that decision by government to be purchasing books by itself. Then what else is it that has affected this? Remember, this is the start of third term, but a third term that will see students, or a section of students, still be at home, including those in grade 4. So let's talk to them and get to hear from them. Sir, thank you so much for agreeing to talk to us on KTN News. Kindly stand here.
Thank you.
Let us know your name, rather.
Yes,
Tell us the name of your children and what it is that brought you to this bookshop or this town today.
Thank you. My name is Pastor. I'm Pastor Bogwa. I come from Isibania. I'm passing through Nakuru and going to Naivasha as I take my kids there for school. They are in Liza school. The good thing about Liza is that they normally buy books for our children. We have come to buy some covers. They want to cover their books. Though it has been so hard for us. And, well, I thank the government for maybe coming in even to chip in buying books for our children. But at times it is also hard because of school fees. We don't have money. We are not even planning for anything. We find ourselves that we are living a day at a time now. Living on hope, but not on planning on anything, because there's literally no money. But God is faithful because we have been able to keep us safe. And praying that maybe by the end of the pandemic, God will maybe do something for us that financially we can be able to start again. But right now we are really down. There's nothing much, even paying school fees. You would have to negotiate with the school that they can be able to allow us to pay in beds until the end of the term. But so far, so bad. Yes. So far, so bad. Perhaps, have you been able to, or you might tell us how it was previously in terms of paying school fees, and so far, has the school or the school of your children been able to come up with a plan of how they'll sort of still have the children in school, even without completion of fully paying the fees, rather? I think one thing about my children go to school at Liza School. It is in Naivasha. One thing is that they have lowered the school fees that we used to pay before, and that has been something that has really touched even our pockets. They have lowered the school fees by a big percentage, and that is really encouraging us to continue taking our kids back there, and that is what we are doing now. Well, let's talk about the safety of the children at school. I know the government has made sure that our children are in school in the most safest environment that they can be in. But as a parent, at a time when we are now reporting the Indian variant of COVID-19, how comfortable are you rather in terms of the safety of your children at school? Well, there is so much that is wanting, especially in secondary schools. Well, especially where my girl goes to school in Eldoret. There's literally nothing that the school does. No social distance, no masks. They just live a normal life in school, no mask and nothing. They just wait upon God to protect them. The administration is not concerned as long as the kids are in school. Nothing much about them and their safety. That's the only thing I can say. There's not much that the government, the administration has done for the kids that they can be protected and feel secure as far as COVID is concerned. Yes.
Well, that is a concern that needs to be followed up on. Perhaps have you raised it with Ministry of Education officials from that particular region in Eldoret, or even the school administration? Well, without mentioning the school.
Well, there has been an issue about the administration, and there was even a strike. There was a strike I think last term, yes, because of the hard-heartedness of the principal. And you know, when it comes to the principal, it's about now the government, the ministry, and now we are waiting that maybe something will happen or a step will be taken as we start this term. But as far as last time was concerned, there was not much concern that was being put for the children. Yes.
Well, thank you so much, sir. And kindly talk to my colleagues so that we can have more of that particular detail and follow up with the school, which particular school that is, so that we can be able to follow up with. Yes. But allow me to speak to your kids before I speak to the business owners very briefly. Yes. Sir, how are you? What is your name? Which level of study are you in? And what is your expectation in the new term?
My name is Samuel. I'm from Lisa Schools. The school which are in, they are taking care of us. It's a very good school. This time I hope God be with us, and also God will help us throughout this term.
God will help you throughout this term, sure. And you also perhaps a very brief statement from you?
My name is Vincent Mburu. About this term, I love this term because I want to get my target and to pass all my targets. And our school is taking care of us, giving us food and everything.
Thank you and all the best. You definitely will meet your target. Well, Brenda, you've heard it from the parent. Let me quickly speak to the business owner of this particular bookshop. Sir, thank you for speaking to us on KTN News. Yeah. You told us earlier that there is a relative low turnout of buyers, parents. Perhaps what do you think has attributed to this? Start with your name.
My name is John Bogwa Honest, the proprietor of Honest Book Center, where we are right away. And concerning what is happening right now is that there is a very low turnout. You can even see, if we would be those other years, the past years, a day like today, you would not even find a place to stand, because there are a lot of parents purchasing books, purchasing stationeries, and so on and so forth. But today, it's different. You may even realize that they will come today, tomorrow. After this week, you may not find anybody buying books here, as opposed to in the past. Of course, it has been contributed by the pandemic, which has hit everybody. Many people have lost jobs. Parents cannot be able to buy books as they used to do. Everybody has been hardly pressed by the situation of pandemic. And actually, we are worried. And like in the past, we used to buy so many books in preparation for the back to school. But today, we buy as, we don't even go for bulk order. We buy as they move. Unlike the past, we would buy so many books because we would be able to predict the way books will be bought. But today we cannot do that. We only come to buy them after the parents have bought, and then we are able to understand and know what they really require.
So what are you doing to stay afloat? Because this is a challenge.
Actually, for us, we are just doing the best we can, just purchasing very few. Of course, we have laid down a bigger number of staff. We are trying to diversify, maybe put in more stationaries, because stationaries do not depend on the parents or schools. They are bought by any other consumers. That's what we are doing. We are bringing more of stationery than the textbooks. Textbooks today, and apart from the pandemic, the government is the one that supplies textbooks nowadays. From 2016, when Matiang'i was the Minister for Education, something that has really hit us. And this is something that we have tried as the bookshops and the owners of bookshops to raise with the government. I can even say here with a lot of confidence, there's a time we went to see the Parliamentary Committee on Education raising these issues, because how can the government do business with itself? We are seeing something that is fishy, something that is not actually right to do, because the supply of textbooks has been for the booksellers. since the inception of free education and free primary secondary education. But from when Matiang'i took over and became the Minister for Education, the government changed the policy, whereby now, instead of us selling books, the government took over. And you would wonder what happened, because you cannot be the procurement. You are the one doing the procurement, you are the one distributing, you are the one auditing yourself, you are the one making policies. This is something that drove most of us. In fact, 90% of our work went to the government. We have tried to raise these issues with the government in vain. We were called to sit with the Parliamentary Committee on Education. We discussed this issue, and we were promised that it will be taken, it will be discussed with the Parliament so that it can be reverted. Because all what we know ourselves is the government's role is to make policies, do coordination, do evaluation. Then the citizens do the business and pay taxes. But now we don't understand what really happened. And this is something that the government, and especially I would call upon our president to intervene, because we had employed millions and millions of people, publishers, authors, booksellers, all were laid with no job, and we had debts with the banks. We had debts with the publishers. We are not even able to pay them. Ever since that, we are declining day in, day out. And this is something that any country can do in the whole world.
Very briefly, sir, because in the interest of time, were schools, before this cancellation or before the government started issuing books by itself, were schools owing booksellers any money, and have they been able to pay to debt?
In fact, because we have been raising this issue, before the government took over, there were no even plans of transition. It was done haphazardly. Schools owed us millions and millions of money. In fact, if we would quantify, or if we would give a figure, the whole country, it was more than 1 billion shillings that was owed to booksellers. The schools were not given money to pay for these debts. They were only stopped from purchasing, and they never received the money that they used to receive for purchases. So what happened is that they were not able to pay us till today. Schools owe us money until today because they were never given money to clear the balances that they had.
Thank you so much. And of course, we hope that someday, somehow, business will open up. Thank you so much, Bwana Honest, for speaking to us. Well, Brenda, you have heard it. That is literally a cry from a bookseller who's talking about how the situation has been, how the business has been, parents not buying. You heard it there from a parent who I asked about a concern of the safety of their child, and they said they raised an issue about an unnamed school in North Rift, in Eldoret specifically, that seem not to be taking care of their children in terms of COVID. Those are details we've taken, and we shall be following up that story later for the benefit of our viewers and the safety of those particular children. But this is what we are doing. Throughout the day today, we shall be checking the different schools and the different, let me call them stakeholders, the bookshops, the uniform sellers,